academic journey also includes an MBA and a Master of Science in Cybersecurity from the University of Dallas, alongside a Bachelor of Science degree in Electronic and Computer Engineering from the Lagos State University, Nigeria. Throughout his career, Biodun has adeptly navigated diverse IT domains, spanning software, networking, and security across various industries. Currently, he leads a team of customer engineers, steering efforts in infrastructure, application, modernization, data analytics, AI/ML, and security for the Google Cloud platform. His multifaceted experience uniquely positions him as a seasoned industry expert. We feel honored that he has prepared the topic, Charting Your Path to Professional Development Through Personal Branding, for all of us. But before I hand over to Biodun and also to my co-host, please carefully take note of the following. All interns should please take note of these following information. Feel free to post your questions and comments on slido.com using the event code 2724661. I repeat, 2724661. This particular Slido code is not supposed to be there for you to just look at. You're supposed to put your questions in there so that when he's done speaking with us, when Dr. Biodun is done speaking with us, him and so the question, where have questions, put it on there and they will be promptly attended to. Also, a Google form has just been opened to collate attendance for the interns. All interns here should please fill out the form. The secret code that we are using for this form is functions, 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 all lowercase. I think you all should look for the Google form link now. The form will be open for only 10 minutes starting now. We will pin the first attendance from this one on YouTube and Zoom. We want you to fill your form quickly in order to focus on the presentation. Biodun, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Wonderful. And good morning. Thank you for having me.
Morning.
Have you officially passed it on to me?
Yes, it's officially yours.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Wonderful.
Shut down my own video now. Yeah, thanks.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be located. I'll share my screen shortly to walk you through the content that I've prepared for today's, what I'll call a webinar around career development. Career development is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I'm hoping that you have questions, thoughts, and insights from today's session. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen and we can hear you.
All right, wonderful. I purposely made the slides all black and white because it's more about the content and not the design today. I really hope that the audience listening from YouTube and joined via Zoom all drill into the content that's being delivered today. The title is Charting Your Path to Professional Development Through Personal Branding. I understand that many of you today are in like different phases of your career journeys. And I'm hoping that the 3-course agenda that I've got for today's session would align, at least one or two or all of them will align to where you are. You can pick something that you can take on as you continue to grow in your careers. The agenda is going to focus on just 3 key topics, and then we'll have a conclusion part, and we'll leave the floor open for question and answers. I anticipate that the conversation shouldn't go for more than 30 to 40 minutes. The first topic we'll be covering will be career development. And this is going to really go into setting goals, identifying your strengths and weaknesses, and developing a plan to achieve your goals. The second topic will be about personal branding. I think it's critically important for everyone to have a brand, and we'll talk a little bit more about the topic of a brand. The third will be personal professional development. How do you upskill yourself? How do you continue to grow and evolve in your career? And what are some of the tips and tricks that I've used across all of these three agenda items that I've listed in here? It's also important to know that across all of these three agenda items, after every section, I'm going to have a go do. I highly recommend that you all put your pen and paper close by and actually set a goal to go do all of the next steps that I've put together for you all across all of these agenda items. So you go here. All right, so let's get started. Career development. When I think about the topic career development, there are a few things that come to mind. You all may think about career development as, oh, I need to have a job before I have a career. On the contrary, right from what you're doing at Hamoye, or right from what you're doing from your university or your college or even high school, you already have a career. You just need to identify what you truly want to do with it. So having a career development plan starts out with setting a goal. Many years ago, in my own case, and when I say many years ago, this is maybe over 25 years ago, I decided to put pen to paper and decide and identify what are like the strengths that I have as an individual. Like it or not, we all have strengths. Some people's strengths are in the lines of solving math. Some people's strengths are in the lines of reading and understanding poetry. Some people's strengths are in the lines of creating arts and crafts. And your strengths could even be unknown to you at this time. But what's critically important though is identify your strengths. Also identify your weaknesses too, and then understand where the things that interest you. How do you map the things that interest you to a goal? How do you eventually connect that? That's extremely important. They always say that a compass or time, which is most important. If you were asked to identify a compass or time, which is most important, some people will say time is more important than compass. And if you don't know what a compass is basically like something that shows you direction. But no matter how much time you have, if you don't really know the direction that you're going, you just the time would eventually elapse. I mean, you maybe would not know the value of the time you have without truly having a compass. And a compass truly is the goal. Having a goal, setting that goal, and working towards it is like one of the first few steps in terms of identifying where you want to go. A lot of you all are in the Hamoye program today. You even have program managers in the Hamoye program who have their personal goals and ambitions too. But if that goal is not fully crystallized, all the time you have, which is like sleeping and waking up and doing something or not doing anything, might amount to nothing. So very, very important to set a goal. There are few things that you could use as your next steps when it comes to setting a goal. Again, it starts with identifying your strengths and weaknesses, researching career paths. The internet has become a hub for so much learning, and even with the proliferation of AI, it's even become much more apparent that you could go onto the internet, you can try Google's Bard, or you can try ChatGPT and identify different career paths that align with what you're doing today in the areas of data science. Also, networking is super critical. I I always give an example to some of the students in my class that the way I got my first internship in the US was basically in one of the classes that I was in. And how did that happen? First and foremost, when I attend those in-person classes, I come in dressed as though I already work. But no, I was a full-time student. And then in one of those classes, I had one of the classmates in there who worked for a multinational company and was like a senior manager in there. And he basically asked me, "Oh, how was work today?" He's like, "No, actually, I don't work currently. I only do school full time." And he basically said, "Oh, you actually don't dress as though you don't work. You dress as though you're always coming from work, like always fresh and polished and all of that." I was like, "Well, I try to represent myself the best way possible." And then I asked him on the topic of work, "I'm actually interested in internship. If you have opportunities in your organization, please let me know." Basically, that was the only conversation that I had with him, and the rest was magic. He reached out to me, asked me to send my resume, and that's literally how I got my first opportunity in America, which was a big deal at the time that I came. Your opportunity may not come from a class, your opportunity may come from a social gathering, your opportunity may come from different other places. It might even be a party. But what's most important is the way people look at you. In many cases, a lot of people are judging you and looking at you based on the words that you say, the way you behave in public, and they can either decide to leverage their network with you or for you, or decide not to. So the way you you present and show up is critically important. So when you're thinking about networking, and we'll talk a little bit more about this topic when it comes to personal branding. When you're thinking about networking, realize that every time you get to talk to somebody you don't know, consider it an interview, which means that you should try to show up in your best version. The next kind of line item in there is like gain skills and experiences you need. You all are already doing that with the Hamoye program, but I would say that having an insatiable knowledge or having an insatiable desire to continue to learn and grow is critically important in the world that we are in today. I've always said that data science and cybersecurity presents the opportunities for the jobs of the future. And I'm very proud to see that you all already tapped into it. But everything you learn from Hamoye might just be your starting point. Your journey might take you to more places or places that you haven't even dreamt of. But if you set a goal, at least you have a direction as to where you want to go. Your experiences can come from AI, can come from the internet. Your experiences can come from friends that you meet, the networks that you or interesting projects that you work on. The interesting projects that you work on may seem boring at first and but may be life changing for a lot of your folks. So always keep an open mind and focus on gaining new skills. Have a desire to always learn something new, and that's one of the pathways that you can use to continue to grow. With all of this that I've listed, it's also important to when you set your goal to also track your progress. Uh, a few years ago, I decided to come up with a what I call a 20-year plan. Like, what do I want to do or what do I want to be in 20 years? In some ways, I'm aligning with it. In other ways, I feel like I'm falling short. But what's most important though is like I'm tracking progress in areas where I think I'm trending strongly, and areas that I think I could be doing a much better job. I say all of this to mean when you set a goal, when you start networking, when you start when you start doing incremental learning, either through the internet, through friends, or through multiple means, or through a master's, a PhD, whatever it is that you're doing, track your progress and see everything more like a dot that's going to connect eventually to that goal that you set for yourself. It's also important to note that what your goal is today is going to change in the next 5 years or 10 years, but the corpus of your goal would stay the same. When I was coming to America, like over 12 years ago now, my my goal was just to come here, get my master's, and get some type of work experience, and hopefully find my way back in Nigeria. That has changed because I've lived here for over 12 years. But what has not changed is some of the goals that I have for myself and what I hope to become. Sometimes life changes your path or changes your destination or modifies the route to your destination, but try to find the learnings along the way. As the next step on career development, I highly recommend these 3 books that I put in here because they've been critical to my growth. They've been critical to the growth of a lot of people that I respect. And if you haven't read them, I highly recommend you do. If you've read any of these books before, I recommend you read them again. And hopefully after this conversation, you get like a clearer or a more refined thought process as to making as to setting your goals and driving progress in your life in general. The first one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think it's a must read for anyone who truly has big dreams. I think it's a must read for anyone who really wants to master the art of setting goals and actually delivering success. There's another book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, where we humans are a culture of habit, and the book Atomic Habits really dives deep into how your habits shape your life and how to actually form good habits, especially on your pathway to setting and meeting your goals. There's an iconic book, more of a standout book in my opinion, that's being read by even CEOs till today, and that's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read the book, or if you read the book before, I encourage you to read it again. I probably read the book like 5 times already. I still read the book like 2 months ago, and every time I go through it, I have new insights. It improves my relationship with my coworkers, it improves my relationship with business partners, and even my relationship with friends. I highly recommend you read that. So there's a section around the book around goal setting, but most importantly, there's a section around the book around influencing people. In a lot of folks' career journey, your path to just having a good career, there will be times where it's the knowledge that you have gained, like your natural learning, that's going to take you to the first 2, 3 jobs or 3 promotions in your career. But what's truly going to keep you there, and what's going to skyrocket you to an unimaginable position that you may have, or a goal, or a moonshot goal that you may have, is your relationship with others. Relationships are all that matters. I was once talking to one of my neighbors who is an executive search an executive recruiter. Basically, it means that these are the people who recruit for senior positions in large organizations. And I was asking her, how do you become a vice president or a senior vice president or even a CEO? Her response to me was something that sticks with me even till today, and I continue to marvel at how simple her response was and how important it is for everyone's life. She basically said that there's so many smart people in the world, specifically in countries like Africa and Nigeria, where people, a lot of citizens of in Africa and even Nigeria are dealing with are solving complex problems with very creative ways. Smartness is not the issue. It comes to a point where what really takes you far is the relationships. How are you able to nurture relationships? How are you able to, who do you know that owns that position, that is in the position that you want to be? And she basically said, Do you have any friend today that's a CEO or an SVP or a VP? If your answer to that question is no, then your chances of being a CEO, an SVP, or all of that is like extremely little. Because if you have a friend who's already doing the things that you want to do, or have somebody that you're looking at or looking up to who's already doing the things that you want to do, chances of you getting to that position becomes much, much clearer. Your pathway becomes much clearer. And I took that and I started asking myself, and I started kind of going through my phone books, and I started thinking about where I am currently and where I want to be, and started influencing the decisions that I made. So my ask of you all is read or reread the books that I've listed in the first three bullets, and go set or review your goals for the next 30 days. If you don't have goals or some big dreams, put your big and ambitious dreams on paper, and to the best of your abilities, put together a plan to get there in the next 30 days. Let's go to the next topic, which is personal branding. I define personal branding as how you're perceived by others. A lot of people say that, oh, my brand is I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm this and that. Well, you could think you're smart, but maybe not. People don't really think you are that way. There's a concept of perception and reality. I would argue that your brand is what other people truly say about you. Your personal brand is what other people say about you. And it is your uniqueness. It is something that would could open doors for you or could maybe even shut doors for you. So it's very important, especially when you set your goal, to identify what are the qualities that you need to have to get to this, to get to what are the qualities that you need to have as an individual to align to this big moonshot goal of yours. And a lot of it starts with your personal brand. Again, I was giving you all the story earlier about the individual who thought that I was working. Why? Because I was always dressing like I was coming from work. That is the brand that he had attributed to me. So it's extremely important to understand and be in tune to what your brand is. And if you don't already know what your brand is, you need to identify what that is. So what is your personal brand? It's a question that you should ask yourself. And developing your brand requires a few things. What is the unique value proposition you bring? Are you a good friend? Or are you an excellent problem solver? What are those? It could be one, it could be many, it could be several thousands of things that you can do. Or what is that one thing that you do so well? That's not only you know about it, but a lot of people that are around you think that you do so good at it. I'll give another example. It's a little bit of a story. Back in my 300 level in university, a lot of my classmates knew that I had a a pretty decent ability. Well, I call it decent, but some folks might not call it decent. They may think it's much more pronounced that I'm presenting it to you all. But a lot of my classmates thought that I had a pretty decent ability with solving computer problems in general. Well, it so happened that the head of department at my university at that time was asking a bunch of students that, hey, I have a friend who has a computer issue that he needs to solve. Who's the best at solving computer issues in here? Well, that's where the word branding comes again. Like, because a lot of folks knew that that was something that I was pretty good at least 4 or 5 people mentioned my name to this professor. And this is a professor who I'd never really had like a core interaction with so much as of that time. Well, it so happened that they reached out to me. It was like, oh, yeah, HOD wants to see you. I came in, had a conversation with him, and he said, oh, will you be open to coming out with me to see one of my friends who has an issue with his computer and he's been struggling to fix it for a few months. the rest was story, or the rest is history, as they say, because I went out with him. The issue was resolved in a few minutes, and the person was extremely happy. Again, it comes down to your personal brand. What is that thing that you know? I wasn't telling people that I was good at computers. I I was basically being brought in to hey, look at this computer issue and then I get to fix it. And people started saying, oh, this is something that this person is truly good at. And they started advertising because when you have a personal brand, be it good or bad, the advertisement is going to come free of charge. So it's pretty important for you to understand where's your goal, or what is your goal, and how does your personal brand intersect with that. The second thing is having defining what your personal brand statement will be. And the assignment or the next steps that I have on the next slide will kind of go a little bit deeper into what I would like for you all to do in the next 60 days. And then building a strong online presence is very much important, especially in the era that we are today. Everything that happens mainly on the internet, especially especially in a world that's basically is hybrid and virtual, as we all call it right now. Have an online presence through social media platform, depending on what your product is. Everybody has some type of product. A product could be your intellectual ability. A product could be an actual product. Have some online presence. Could be, you could start from LinkedIn, especially folks in the Hamoye program. I highly recommend you all to have some type of LinkedIn page. You could even be on Instagram and do short demos of some of the data science projects that you're working on currently, and network with people in the field. Be part of multiple groups that you're learning from, or you're hearing more insights, or you're seeing different other dimensions that people are thinking about the problems that you may or may not be aware of. And your personal brand should be consistent. Should not be a case where some people think that you're the best at solving data science problems, and another person thinks that, oh, you're just average. Your personal brand should be consistent, and you doing it. I mean, it's critically important to do a good job of representing yourself well when it comes to your personal brand. So, as a next step, in the next 60 days, what I would like for you all to do is a simple exercise that can take you very far, because it would help you write your LinkedIn bio in many ways. It would help you go through a moment of self-reflection and understand, okay, this is where I want to go, but this is how people see me today. And these are the steps that I need to take, because now I've set my goal. These are the steps that I need to take to change that perception, or to refine that perception. Or maybe I need to set a different goal, because the way I really want to be known is not how I'm being known. Maybe my strengths, I'm not in tune with what my strengths truly are. So the simple exercise is this: ask your family, friends, your previous coworker, your current coworker, your cohort members in the Hamoye program that you got the opportunity to work with for a few weeks or months, your past and present bosses as well, and ask the simple line statement: what are the three words they think describes you the best? So, or what are the three words they think about when they think about you? I went through this exercise about some 6 years ago, and one thing I know for a fact is my growth as an individual, my evolution through life means that what I was known for 6 years ago might probably be what might not be as consistent as what I was known for again. So I may have to go through this exercise again. So I recommend that through your career journey, it's every 6 years or 5 years, ask this question of the folks that you know, and see if where you want to be or what you want to be known for is consistent with where you are currently. So do this in the next 60 days. It's simple. Just ask them, send an email, send a text message and follow up, or send a WhatsApp message and follow up with these individuals, and ask what are the three words. When you when you gather those three words, and that could be a list of 20 or 15 or 30 individuals that you've reached out to, or it could even be 10. identify if there are like commonalities. Just start doing more of like a create a union and say, okay, some people say I'm smart, some people say I'm intelligent. So I'm gonna combine smart and intelligent and put that as one. Some people say that I'm not time sensitive, or I'm always late to meetings. I want to put that on another area. That could be one of the ways to identify your weaknesses. Some people say that, some of the good things they remember about me is, oh, you are always you're a great listener. Like all of those type of things, that becomes your personal brand. And take that as assets that you have today, and identify what you want to do with it, or how does that actually advance you further with your personal goals. When you put all of that together, that is your personal brand. Those 5 statements or 5 words, that is your personal brand, because you haven't come up with it yourself. It's your friends and the people you trust, the people who know you closely, that have helped you come up with it. That is your personal brand. And you can take that and use it any way you please. But that is going to be like your critical asset towards meeting your goals. Then on to the third one, which is professional development. I started the old conversation earlier, in a few minutes ago, saying that you all have a profession today. You may not just call it a profession because maybe you're not all working for a company just yet. Maybe you're just finishing school or you're still in school, but you all have a profession. But that profession may not be have the label that you want. But your professional development really is the process of upskilling yourself and staying ahead of the curve. And when I say the process of upskilling yourself, it means that if you're in the field of data science and you're so good at data modeling, and you have some interest in neural networks, maybe your next step is to start doing some deep deep learning or deep machine learning. But to get to that level, maybe you need to take additional courses from Hamoye, or maybe you need to take some additional courses on all of the learning platforms that are out there. Maybe that's your next step. Maybe your next step is to identify an organization where you could go do an internship. And it could be a paid or non-paid internship. Maybe that's your next step. Maybe your next step is starting a project and soliciting other like-minded contributors to continue to help you grow and develop your craft. Maybe that is your next step. But you would be the one to identify what that next step is to make sure that you're always staying ahead. I'll give you an example or examples of things that I try to do to stay ahead. Every start of the year, I look at my goals, look at how far I've come. I look at what are some of the gaps that I have unmet. I have some folks on LinkedIn that I admire their profile. I have some folks on LinkedIn that I'm like, oh, this is the type of person that I want to be in this specific section of their career. And then I ask myself, what are some of the things that they're doing? What are some of the ways they're contributing to to the corpus of knowledge that I also want to contribute to? And if I realize that they're taking a training course, I could go take that training course. If I realize that they're doing some type of certification, I could go take that certification too. Because again, if if your aim is to be a VP and the VPs around you are doing XYZ things, if you do those XYZ things and you keep good relationships with the folks that are around you, chances are it's only a matter of time. It's like you're knocking on the door. Eventually, it would eventually open. So yeah, you could take online courses, you can read publications, and you can start some type of mentor relationship with an expert as well, and make sure that you're not only getting value from them, but they're also getting value from you. And one of the for those that have not read the Dale Carnegie book, one of the part of the book kind of talks about symbiosis in relationships. It shouldn't always be a one-way street. There should be some type of like mutual benefit for relationships to thrive. So again, professional development is like an essential part of career success. Like the folks that hired you today hired you because of what you know, but they're going to keep you in the job, not because of what you knew 5 years ago. Because what you knew 5 years ago, as you all know, things are changing very fast. What you knew 5 years ago might not be as relevant as with the current trend of how things are like just rapidly changing. So it's very important to continue to stay ahead of the curve to understand the different models. There was a time where ChatGPT was like the thing, and ChatGPT 3.5 was like the next best thing to sliced bread. I'll be very surprised in the next few months, or maybe even a year from now. There might not be a different model that surpasses what ChatGPT does today. The same goes for there was a time where having a Sony Walkman for those who were around then was like the next best thing. The Apple iPod revolutionized that, and even now that continues to change. There was a time where everybody just needed to have Apple Music. Now we have more folks wanting to listen to Spotify. But knowing what all of that means and knowing what that means for you and your career and your goal and your personal brand is like very important. So as the next step for professional development, in the next 60 days, I would like for those who have a LinkedIn profile, after you have completed the process of setting your goal and identifying who you truly want to be, I'd like for you all to go through that process of personal branding and identify how people actually see you. And then the next evolution of that is use models like ChatGPT to and type in and teach ChatGPT. Start a prompt and say, well, let me tell you about Moses, or let me tell you about James, or let me tell you about Biola. And say, hey, here are like the three words that people use to describe Biola. Here's what Biola wants to be. Write me a LinkedIn bio for Biola. All of the models out there, and all of the AI models out there, or large language models out there will help you with things like that and create a, a very well written LinkedIn bio for you. That could just be your first part. And people start seeing you differently, or the way people see you is the way people think about you is consistent with your social presence as well. And if there are gaps, you can make a plan to continue to evolve those gaps. The next thing that I'd like for you all to do is to find three mentors and thought leaders. And I use the word mentors, I use the word mentor very loosely because the mentor really doesn't have to be somebody you are talking to all the time. It might just be someone you are reading from. And it might not be writing directly to you, it might just be writing to an open audience. It's important to know that a lot of people, I mean, like there's a Yoruba adage that goes by, I would say it's in Yoruba, I'll kind of rephrase it in English. That's when when for the folks who are investing in the life of others, they also need time to invest in their own personal growth too. So it becomes incredibly difficult for an individual who you call your mentor or someone who is a thought leader to have 100 or 1,000 mentors, because as you can imagine, a lot of people want to hear from them. It gets incredibly difficult to keep a relationship with 1,000 people where you're literally talking to them one on one. Sometimes you have to find ways to scale. And some of the ways a lot of the mentors and thought leaders and the people that you think are like very busy trying to scale is they write, or sometimes they write and post articles online that you can go read and digest and make something out of it. You can post a question to them and they might be able to come back to you with a response. Sometimes their response can be very short, sometimes their response can be elaborate. But just understand that a mentor is not always somebody that you should always expect to be talking to them every week or every other week or things like that. It could literally be somebody that you are reading from, or it could be somebody that you are part of their webinar, It could be somebody that you're part of their group or network, where you're learning how they are thinking, or somebody that you're just reading all the historic work that they've done in the past. Like some people who want to be a Wole Soyinka, the way Wole Soyinka may not be your mentor right now, or may not be your one-on-one mentor. For all of the work that Wole Soyinka has done, if you go digest it, you can learn to think like Wole Soyinka to some extent. And then there are spaces too for folks who you have still have the bandwidth and time that you can connect with, and they can be your mentor as you continue your career path. Next thing that I'd like for you all to do, especially the folks who are in the data science program, go create a blog. Africa has a ton of talents, and there's so many smart people across the world, period. The way people can find your work though is not when you put it on paper or when you put it on your local computer and nobody else sees what you've done. The best way people can identify your work is if you create something that's public, if you create something that's folks can search, where and it becomes a situation where when other people have problems or when other people are thinking about a solution to a problem, the first thing they do is they go to some search engine to see who has done or written some articles around that topic. And the moment they go and do the search and they find your name come up, then you become someone they want to collaborate with and do some work with. There are some folks who have traveled and met their life goals of doing graduate school out of the country just by publishing their work, because it becomes more of a proof to whoever you are interviewing with or talking to that you not only care about this topic or passionate about this field, you're doing some work that's advancing the 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 advancing the field or the evolution of the field to some capacity. To showcase your work, go start a blog. There are many free blog sites that you can go start and kind of use that as your platform. Even LinkedIn has like a blog page that you can start using that as a way to publish the work that you're doing, share with as many people, share with as many groups that you've identified that aligns with your field of study. That is all I have for you. At the end of it all, I would like to call out that career development, personal branding, professional development are all important aspects of career success. By setting goals, developing your personal brand, and staying up to date on your industry, you can increase your chances of achieving your career goals, no matter what that may be. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yeah, I hear a little bit of in and out from the audio. Well, I heard you say thank you. Was that all you said?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's what I said. I said thank you very much for the presentation. For now, there are questions coming into the talk. Okay, sir. There's a question. So, you talked about like ChatGPT 3.5, ChatGPT 4, or my question is like what will you advise people that are going into the field, newly into the field of AI, ML, and there are so many things coming in, like prompt engineering, large language models, and a whole lot of tech coming in. Now there's ML ops, and there's a whole lot now. And people just we're learning, and we don't even know what to not learn. Like so, like, do you have any advice for people like me now get into the field?
Yeah, good question. For a start, my recommendation would be have a baseline knowledge, have some type of foundational knowledge of data science. That's from how do you clean data, how do you model data, how do you what does the field of data science really aims to achieve? That's the baseline. Also, with the ever since the large language models and all the transformer models have been released, like the chat GPTs and the BART and Google's BART, it's apparent that AI is like the most fundamental change to technology since the internet. And the field of AI is going to revolutionize every industry, like literally every industry, from medicine to manufacturing to education to all of that. With the foundational knowledge you have, it's always best to identify what path do you want to go. Prompt engineering is just one of them. You already use ChatGPT today to create code and to write code. You can think about all of the automations that would happen behind the scenes when it comes to, okay, you've written some code for the past 10 years, but you need AI to go and scrub that code for you. Understanding how that system works, understanding, being able to answer the question of, okay, I just saw AI do something. Can I explain how that happened? Can I explain how many processes or how many systems need to be talking to each other to make that happen? Being able to do that, in my opinion, is the area where you all should go focus on. Try to understand how the technology works and understanding it from a data science perspective. Because the moment you can understand it, you can, I'd say, you know what, this is the area. If there's an area that I'm not able to explain very well, and I'm interested in the area, or there's an area I can explain so well, and this is the area I'm truly, truly passionate about, that right there becomes your career. So there's a level of curiosity that's required, especially in the cycle that we are with AI. And that level of curiosity is what's going to help you figure out what your next career will be. So if I were you all now, I'll be asking myself, if just a few weeks ago, Google announced that, oh, that there's been some revolutionary work that's been done in the area of X-rays, where AI can actually help detect everything that's wrong with an individual whenever you review their X-ray. Your role should be to understand such a system. What are the various pieces of information it needs to be fed with for it to be able to create that level of intelligence? How can a doctor just walk into a room after an X-ray is done and AI has already removed all of the filters of, okay, this person does not have pneumonia, this person does not have this person is probably a chain smoker, this person is probably this, and this is where you need to go focus on. How can AI do that? You being able to explain that to a level of depth is going to be your pathway to identifying your career, because it's going to be either the areas where you can explain so well or the areas where you can't explain at all but you're curious about. That is going to be your pathway. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Good. 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 Thank you very much. So, there are more questions, but before we take the question, to the interns, please note that the second attendance form will be dropping now, and the secret code is branding, all lowercase. Remember, the form will close 10 minutes from now. Take YouTube and join for the new form. Okay? Yes, sir. Okay. So now to the questions. There's a question from Chinenye. Okay, let me repeat. I think I can see your hand. Please note that the second antenna will be dropping now, and the secret code is branding, all lowercase. Branding, BRANDING, all lowercase. Branding. Okay. The question. We have a question from Chinenye. In She said, in leading my brand, how do I prevent my career gap or transition setting? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, you said how do I prevent my I didn't hear that part. Could you go over the question again, please? If you're talking, you're on mute. Is anyone from Hamoye still talking? Because I can't hear anyone.
Hi, Joachim, where are you? All right, I'm just going to try and take over for him. I'm trying to see what the question is that he was asking. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I can see the questions. I think what he was asking is that this person said, in building my brand, how do I present my career gaps or transitions effectively? It's a question from YouTube by Chineye Agalono.
Yeah, okay. Oh, great question too.
Yeah.
A lot of folks have had to deal with that. And I'll give an example that's personal to me. When I moved to the US, I came here for grad school. For the period while I was in grad school, I clearly wasn't working. I had probably some short stints of an internship that time, and I was in grad school for, for about 2 years. That could be seen as a career gap. In many cases, when you're building your personal brand or creating your resume or things like that, the periods where you're not actually doing work can highlight some of your accomplishments. Your accomplishment could be a degree. Your accomplishment could be a certificate. Your accomplishment could be some work that you have created or some independent contracting that you've gotten to do in the period while you're evolving yourself or learning new skills or things like that. No employer will say that because you're not working for 3 years, you are disqualified. Yeah, on the contrary, they would say, "Oh, what have you been doing in the past 3 years?" And you get an opportunity to explain. Hopefully, you've already put that on your resume, on your personal brand. Yeah, I know some folks who are currently out of work and they are doing some freelancing. Even if you say you're doing freelancing in the process, and in addition to the freelancing, you're getting certificates and degrees and things like that, it's fully understood. Like some women have to, unfortunately, have to leave the workforce for a few years because they want to just settle and grow their family and have kids and all of that. That is not a negative. It's a positive because you actually you care about bringing and up and raising great kids in the society. So it's all about the way you phrase it. But what's most important is a career gap or gap in employment is not a negative. You can find also so many positives around it when you put together your brand profile. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Abiodun. I hope that helps too, but that helped in my own opinion. Okay, so we have two questions here that are very similar. I do not have enough experience to showcase how I can to showcase? How can I start building my brand? And the next one, similar to it, said, what would be the step one towards personal branding if someone is starting from scratch?
Yeah.
Did you get those? Okay.
Yes, I'll take the two questions. I'll kind of answer the questions the same in at once.
Okay.
And I have another call that starts now, but I can stay for another 2-3 minutes.
All right.
Just so that you know. All right. So
Thank you.
the best way to start, like again, nobody was born a CEO, nobody was born a VP, or nobody was born working for a large company. Everybody started from somewhere. And the opportunity that's in front of you all is the fact that you have people that are already doing it. In many cases, you have people who look like you that are already doing the things that you want to do. In my initial slides, I said, find a mentor. And mentor is basically someone that has done or is on the path of doing what you want to do. And use that as an opportunity to identify, okay, what does this mentor have that I don't have? How is this mentor portraying themselves? How can I go and do all of the personal branding exercises that I've left with you all to go get done in the next 60 days? And say, okay, this my mentor has all of this. I have 20% of this, what this person, mentor, somebody that I admire on LinkedIn or any of these sites have. And then start creating a pathway for you to get to where the person is. You know, I'll give one story before I wrap up this question or wrap up the response. When I joined Microsoft like 10 years ago, I was asked to come do work that I had the fundamental skills to get the work done. I had the work ethic, I was hardworking and all of that. And I technically have the intellectual ability to deliver, which a lot of people do have. There were some questions that I had to ask the person I was reporting to then, my manager. I basically asked my manager, who is the best person, in your opinion, at this role? Because I had a manager, I had a shortcut to go ask the question. I could have asked my coworkers. I could have asked the people I know on the team that who does this very, very well. The other way I approached it was I looked at who do people typically go to when they are stuck, where like they don't have a response to this question or this problem. Who do they go to? And the moment I identified that person, I knew that okay, this is the person I want to look up to. And what I basically did was I told my manager, okay, now that you have told me the name of this person or this individual, can I go and sit next to where this person sits for the next 3 months? Because what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 months is going through a process of apprenticeship. It wasn't like I didn't have any knowledge of my own. I do. It was not like I didn't have any skills, but I wanted to know how this person solved problems, how this person how this person answers questions, what makes this person so good. I didn't even have to sit in this side by side with the individual. I just had to sit a cubicle away from this individual, and I got to hear how they solve problems, how they attend to problems, and before you know it, I was doing similar work, if not better, than this individual. So it starts with identifying that person in your life, or that person around you, or that person you admire on social media or LinkedIn or any of these career sites, and take that further. I know it sounds so simplistic, but some of this requires time. It may take you 2 months to find the person if you don't already know the person, but you can use some of the shortcuts, like I mentioned, like asking people who are already in the field, who are seasoned in the field, and say, who should I be following? Hamoye has a ton of incredible profiles of individuals that come in and professionals that come in to talk to you all. Like, I mean, Charles is an entrepreneur. Wale is a lead data scientist at AWS. If those are the type of people you want to be, their LinkedIn profile is open. Just go and look at everything they have done and start creating that for yourself. I hope that helps.
All right, thank you so much. That helped, Biodun. As today's webinar comes to an end, we officially wrap it up. Big thanks to Biodun Awojobi for sharing his insights and thoughts so generously. Thank you so much, Biodun. Every second we spent here has been super informative. To our awesome interns and everyone who joined, I'm sure you've picked up some really useful tips and know-how from today's talk. Special thanks to the hardworking Hamoye team and everyone who pitched in to make this webinar a success. Have an awesome weekend. Until next time, take care. Thank you so much, Biodun, for staying through with us.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Always my pleasure. All the best to everyone.
Thank you so much. Yeah.